Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology and the energy for both the collective and each individual life path number for August 2022. So before we get into the forecast, I just want to, of course, mention that this is a general reading. So if you would like to sort of dive more deeply into your own personal energies, because they may be very different from sort of what we're looking at collectively or what you're even looking at from a collective life path energy, then please book some time with me. I do offer month ahead forecast, personal month ahead forecast, as well as year ahead forecasts, which again are tuned into your personal numerology and your personal energies. And then, of course, I also offer coaching with numerology, your numerology reports. There's a whole plethora of offerings on my website. So if you're interested in working with me and again, diving deeper into your own numerology and personal energies, then book some time with me. I would love to work with you. Okay, so August 2022, we are working with a 14-5 energy. Now, those of us who have a lot of sort of predominant 5 energies throughout our reports, throughout our charts, this is sort of going to be more, it's just going to be more of what we're sort of used to. We're very familiar with this energy, so we can kind of adapt to it and move with the punches. But it's still going to be important to understand that we're getting a heavy dose of this month. And so just to be prepared and so to be able to work with it to the best of our abilities. Those of you who don't have a lot of 5s within your chart, this can be, sometimes 5 energy can be it can feel a little disruptive. It can feel very transformative. It can feel as if sort of the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. But it can also sort of bring more spice into your life. It can bring about this desire for freedom, to break free, to move beyond the restrictions, to travel, to explore. It's a very big, fast-moving energy. So it can be a lot to sort of wrap your head around and your energy around if you're not used to working with it. So, but it is very much working for us as opposed to against us. A lot of times with 5 energy, it tries to move us abruptly sometimes to where it is that we need to be on our journey. So if we've got distracted or we're procrastinating, the 5 energy is so good about sort of coming in like this big gust of wind to lift us up and put the wind in our sails to get us moving again. So it is very, very positive energy, but it can be a lot to work with. So let's look at the forecast. So this can be a cycle when we are forced to sort of see things from a new perspective, because we're not only working with the 5 energy, we're working with the influencing energy of the 14. So this is also, I've sort of marinated that into this forecast as well. So we can be kind of asked to see things from a new perspective through new clarity coming in or new experiences that help us to better understand a situation. So these new experiences may have us reviewing past behavior to see if there's things that we want to approach differently. This is very powerful energy. So this cycle can highlight areas where we may need to choose to modify our lifestyle in some way to get different results than what we have been seeing. There's a lot of sort of personal responsibility that's sort of, again, included in this energy, right? So this is big, explosive, and expansive energy, and desires that we didn't even know that we had can surface now. The more that we can sort of ground ourselves and keep checking in with the reality of the situation, that's really, really important to remember, like to keep checking in with the reality, because 5 energy can have you thinking about, dreaming really big and using that big imagination and going after those big goals, which is great. But we can often lose sight of the reality of the situation and what we're actually working with. And so it's important to keep coming back to that. I kind of sometimes think of 5 energy as being very similar to like Uranus energy in astrology. It's got a lot of the same kind of dynamic influences. So anyway, so again, the more that we can ground ourselves and keep checking in with the reality of the situation, the less likely we are to sort of get swept up into something that's not truly aligned with us and our goals. So pay attention to, again, like what comes in for you this month. Not to say that new relationships that come in this month or that sort of get springboarded this month won't last. It's very possible that they could, and it could be that this energy is coming in to sort of facilitate that. But it's also possible that we're putting on 6 layers of rose-colored glasses and sort of getting enamored with maybe somebody or something that's not necessarily the best long-term fit. So just kind of keep that in mind. And that's what I say, keep coming back to the reality of the situation, right? Try to find a way to marry both those that more idealistic viewpoint and the reality, and then you'll have like a healthy balance. So this can be incredibly creative energy. So this can be a very creative period where sort of we move the magic of the imagination into something more tangible within the physical reality. So this is very supportive energy for unconventional thinking and creating as far outside of the box as your imagination wants to take you. So play in the realm of creativity as much as possible, while also keeping yourself grounded as much as possible. So again, you're finding the balance between the two and having them work together with synastry, right? Like this can be such an incredibly powerful, creative period if we work with the energy in a very balanced way. So moderation, as I always say with 5 energy, is going to be key for the best results, right? For the most beneficial results of this energy. This can also be a profitable time for commercial, sort of seeing more money and business dealings. So anything that you have to do, like any kind of interaction or any kind of, just any kind of interaction that you have or transaction that you have that's commercial, around money, around business dealings, can be very profitable at this time. Just make sure that you're slowing down and paying attention to all of the details and the possible outcomes or scenarios before fully committing or signing your name to anything. And so I want to repeat that because I think it's really, really important, especially when we're working with 5 energy, because we don't have like any kind of 4 energy here, although we might have some through the illuminations of the full moon or the new moon. I can't remember. But 4 energy is like the details. 5 energy is just, let's go. It's so big and expansive that a lot of times it can lose sight of those details, right? The finer print. So again, slow down, pay attention to all of the details and the possible outcomes or scenarios before fully committing or signing your name to anything. So again, it's not like you want to be the Debbie Downer or, be pessimistic or whatever. It's again, bringing that realism into the situation to be like, okay, this is the risk. This is what could potentially come from that risk. This is the potential outcomes. And this is the scenarios that I could be facing if I take this risk. Is it worth that to me? Right. So there just needs to be kind of this, in the midst of all of this big energy, these periods of checking in and making sure that, the route that you're taking or the risks that you're taking are what you want to be taking, or that you're open to, that you're okay. You've explored the possible outcomes and you're okay with those. You might not want to have to deal with those possible outcomes, but you've evaluated them and you can work with them, right? 14-5 energy can bring big hopes and huge aspirations that make it really easy to sort of disregard or overlook possible catastrophic outcomes. And so that's what I mean. It's like, yes, take a risk, but be sure you're well aware of what the potential risks are before saying yes. And of course, it's life, so we don't always know everything that could possibly happen. I think that's implied, right? But it's about doing your best to try to do the research, just to make sure that you have an understanding of what could potentially go wrong, and are you able to work with that, right? If that were to happen, if the worst case scenario were to occur, can you handle that? Can you work with that? If the risk is too great, then you may want to modify it. So modify the situation, modify the opportunity, modify whatever you need to modify, so that if things do go sideways, then you can somewhat easily dust yourself off and start over without too much devastation, right? You don't want to do anything that if things go sideways, it's going to set you back so far that you're now digging yourself out of a hole to try to recover. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, just keep your head about you and just be mindful, right? Just do the research. Just make sure that you're fully educated and fully aware of the potentiality of what could come from these big risks. But don't let that scare you. Like if you do the research and you say, okay, you know what, this is the risk. Yeah, it would suck, but I am fully capable of overcoming it, whatever. It might be a little bit of a setback, but it's not going to devastate me or my family. Go for it, right? Because it's not meant to put fear in you to not do the things that your soul wants to do. It's just to be well educated to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for potential failure, right? Because it also, things with big risks, right? Things with the potential for a big risk, right? Also have the potential for not only like big devastation, but big wins, right? And so you just have to look at it for your own situation and see, what are you willing to say yes to? What are you willing to work with if it goes sideways? So competitive situations can also surface under this energy. So if that happens, try to keep those interactions light and playful. That's going to be really, really important, because otherwise you're inviting in conflict and chaos that can arise very quickly and unnecessarily. So choose how you participate, as always, with this energy. And as always, moderation is going to be key. The more that you can bring in moderation, continue to find your balance, continue to remain centered, then you are going to benefit from this energy in spades. I mean, there's just so much potential here to really flourish under this energy, but just remain as grounded as possible as you play in this 5 energy. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at each individual life path number now. Life path number 5. So I pulled an animal spirit card for you all, and you got emu spirit. And what's interesting about emu is it brings with him a message about curiosity, strategy, and endurance. So what's interesting about this is not only are you working with the 5 energy, which is of course your energy, in the month of August for the collective, but you all also have the energy of the 10-1 that is sort of working as an undercurrent for you all this month. And it really works so beautifully with the message of emu. So there is so much here for you all to really focus your energy, hone in on whatever it is that you want to create, initiate, take a risk on, and focus your energy, find a strategy, or be curious about a strategy, which I'm not really concerned about 5s being curious. I know you all are the explorers. But find a strategy to not only like maintain and hold your focus, because that can be an issue, not an issue, but that can be something that 5s struggle with. And I have a tremendous amount of 5s in my chart, so I totally get this. But it can be challenging to really like focus that energy, to pick something and really just rein the bunnies back in and focus your energy, all that beautiful energy, onto 1 or 2 things, to really build upon it. Sometimes it's like for 5 energy, it's easy to get started on something that you feel really passionate about, but then the endurance can be challenging for 5 energy, because if anything starts to feel like routine or mundane or anything like that, sometimes we can lose our focus or start to procrastinate or, get distracted or whatever into something more exciting. But I think that there's something to really understand that, especially working with this undercurrent of 1 energy, that in order to build something truly monumental, truly sustainable, truly, bring the magic from the ethereal into the physical, there has to be a significant amount of focus, and there needs to be a significant amount of strategy, and endurance. And so there really is, with Emu coming in, just a reminder to pace yourself and to not give up so quickly on something, especially if there's still some level of intrigue or passion or desire to continue. Just because you're not getting the instant gratification does not mean that that gratification is not coming. A lot of times gratification is delayed, especially when it's something that is meant to be sustainable, is meant to be like stand the test of time. And so just whatever it is that you're working on, and this can be relationships, this can be, a project, a creative project, whatever the case may be, I think Emu is just coming in to remind you that great things happen over time, right? Like over dedicated periods of time. And so again, get your strategy together this month. Understand that whatever it is that you're building, if it's something that you want to last, there has to be some level of focus and endurance like tied into it. And that's going to, of course, come back to you to do that. Now, again, 5 energy is such big energy. And not only is it your energy that you're working with in this lifetime, but it's also really heavy, like not heavy energy, but like the energy that we're working with, the most prominent energy that we're working with in August. And so I do think that there's going to be the potentiality for your energy to want to get really scattered, or for you to get your focus to kind of shift quickly. And so there's going to take some sort of like working that muscle and keep coming back to what do I want, and how can I create some kind of strategy so that when I start to procrastinate, or I start to get bored with whatever this is, or I don't want to put in the effort, even though I still want the result, how can I sort of keep myself focused, right? And that's going to be different for every person, like whatever works for you. So interesting that Emu came through, but not surprising, because I think it's a beautiful, perfect message for what you all are working with this month. So again, you all have this undercurrent of like 10-1 energy. So this is a beautiful energy for you 5s. You may see this month sort of bring extra fortune, good luck, and a turn for the better. So if there's anything you've been sort of working on, you may see at this time, if it's something you've already put the effort in and the endurance into, you may see things come to fruition around that this month. But if you're starting something new, I think that's really where like Emu is going to come in. And it's very possible that you will start something new or get big ideas or inspiration with all this 5 energy and with all this 1 energy that y'all are working with. So this can also be sort of a time, again, for innovative ideas. Fresh new beginnings are highly favored during this energy. So again, if those ideas come in, run with them, take the risk, go for it. I would say it's definitely important for you all, especially, to find ways to ground yourself though as well, so that you don't get swept up into so much of this like sort of free-spirited energy, which there's nothing wrong with being a free spirit. There's you just have to continue to find ways to sort of ground yourself, so you're not just like at the mercy of the wind. Do you know what I mean? Like wherever the wind wants to take you type thing. And so again, just continue to find ways to ground yourself, but this is your big green light to really dive into your 5 energy and just play in it and enjoy it and follow those big ideas and be that free spirit while grounding yourself. This can also be a time where it feels like you need your independence. Now, I know that's not something new necessarily for 5s. 5 energy, again, is sort of like the free-spirited energy. And so it's kind of like you can be in very solid, healthy relationships, but you also need your space. Like you also need to have like room to breathe and like room to like spread your wings, right? And fly when you want to fly. So it's definitely a very free energy that you're already working with. But this can also, with this being a 1 energy, can kind of add sort of some fire behind that, to where it's kind of like you may really have an idea, and this might be a time for you to really just solely work on it by yourself. Like where again, it's that independent energy, and this is a time to sort of maybe think through some of those things. Like you want to be able to think independently, take action independently, feel like you have a voice and that it's independent from sort of the crowd with this 1 energy, and of course with your 5 energy. So it's very possible that you can be feeling that very, very strongly. And I would say honor it. You have so many energies you're working with that are sort of supporting you in really standing up and standing out and like taking charge, being the leader, focusing that energy, and not being afraid of sort of standing out and just doing it your way, as long as it's not harming yourself or somebody else, obviously, right? Take the lead now. This is a leadership energy. Anything where you can, again, sort of, maybe start some kind of a movement. Maybe you want to start some kind of a project and you're the lead on that project. You may have to collaborate or network with other people or get funding from other people or whatever, and that's fine. But the integrity needs to stay sort of with you. Like the integrity of the project needs to be around your vision. That's kind of where this independent energy is coming in. It's like blazing a new trail, a new independent trail that's different from something that's been done before, that has the potential to really stand out, that is unique, that is unconventional potentially. So again, right up your alley. And the 1 energy that you're working with is sort of, again, like the fuel to the fire. It's sort of both. It's like the fuel and the fire. And it's just really encouraging you to, if you have a big idea, share it. If you want to start something new, launch something new, a podcast, perhaps a YouTube channel, whatever, this is a great month to do that, especially if there's some kind of like unique or unconventional theme to whatever it is that, again, hasn't been done before, sort of stands out, might bring some kind of unique solution to a problem that others haven't been able to find the solution for. This is absolutely the month to get started on that and to really explore those ideas and go with it. The biggest thing that I would say as sort of the biggest takeaway for you all this month is going to be, again, kind of tying in with Emu Spirit about the endurance and focusing your energy. That's going to be really, really important. So it's very typical for 5s to have like a million different ideas, but then struggle with figuring out like, okay, well, which ones do I put my energy into? Because if you put your energy into all 5 million things, it's really hard for anything to come from that because there's so little invested in each area. You see what I'm saying? So when you can sort of focus your energy onto 1 or 2 things, that's a lot of power behind you. That's a lot of intent. That's a lot of movement, right? A lot of creation. So it behooves you and you're encouraged to really find your focus this month. Really find it, figure out what it is that you want to work with, and then stick with it. Like, stick with it. That's definitely one of those things where it's like, that's going to be key. If you want to see the results from whatever it is that you start this month, you've got to stick with it. There has to be a level of endurance here. Okay. So fantastic energy this month for creation, for, just sharing your gifts in a very unique way and really bringing, again, those big ideas into the tangible where they can be useful and people can do something with them. Very, very powerful energy. Very, very powerful energy this month for you 5s. So take advantage of it. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.